Greetings and welcome back to Smartwatch Ticks. It's been a long time since we've taken a look at watch faces on these Android smartwatches like this Kingwear KW98 watch. Today we're going to jump back into that game and show you some very unique watch faces that come to us from a European designer named Alrod. Alrod got really excited about these watches and he created his own G+ community called KW88 Smartwatch Tips. And what you're about to see on this watch are 77 of his free designs that he offers just for downloading. No questions asked, no obligations. He encourages you to give a donation, which is nice, but they're basically available for you straight from his website. In addition to that, after the 77 watch faces, we're going to show you 30 what he calls premium watch faces. He's put together a pack of those faces which when you look at them and you go to download them, you can get them, but you have to go through PayPal and do a donation first. So if you make a donation, you don't just get one of them, you'll get the 30 pack of all of these watch faces that run not only on the KW88, but all these new watches too. We'll talk about that in a moment. So let's begin. Let's take a look at his free watch faces that he's got. And as we go through this, I want to explain a little bit about all this confusing watch face area. There we go. All right. Here in alphabetical order is his first one. I'm not showing you the titles of them, but in the files, the titles are there. We just keep moving through them. And I'll explain to you that what you're looking at are watch faces, whoops, there we go, that have either been designed from scratch by Alrod or have been picked up from one of the other designs of watch faces. This is wild, look at those hands going around. And ported over so that they will run efficiently on the KW88 type of watches. Or they are adopted and adapted from other designs found throughout the web. Now, there's some nuances to all of this because watch face design is an intensely personal kind of thing. And when you're looking at these, like this one, you have no idea who actually made it, where it came from, or whether or not there have been modifications to it over time. Here's one showing clouds and a background and airplanes for the hands with digital time and all sorts of other stuff. Where these come from and how they've come about and how they've evolved through time is kind of important in the watch community. So there are a couple of characteristics that the behind-the-scenes people try to keep in mind. One is called attribution, and that means attributing the watch face design, like if there's a logo, Back to the Future, attributing it to where that source of that came from. That means on the watch face page where you can download this one, there should be a link that links back, say, to the movie. And then you have paid an attribution, offered an attribution to the source. I know, I'm sorry, I got to go through this. The other one is called homage. And that's like paying homage to someone for something. And if this particular design was done by someone else, then the proper way to do it on the website where this has been adjusted so that it'll run on this watch, which it might not have before, that tweak, that modification makes it quasi-original work to that level of modification. But still, it's proper to give credit to the original designer of the watch face, and that's paying homage to the original designer. So, when you go over to the G+ community here for the KW88 smartwatch tips of all of Alrod's work, and when you go to any of the other websites that are offering web faces for these watches, it's good to look for and acknowledge where they came from, the developer, and what logos or companies are represented, like BMW. Now, if you come across a watch face, and this happens, that's on a website that doesn't have attribution or homage credentials, if you happen to know please put in the comments down below, Attribution, BMW, Homage, Joe. If you know where the source is, then mention that in the comments so that the developer can copy and paste that into the actual description of the web watch face on the website. And that helps clean this up for everybody. Here's one. Look at the detail on this one now. Now we're getting into some fun. So reason I say that is I've noticed on Alrod's page, he's making an effort to get this all cleaned up, but some of them he just has no idea where they came from originally. And when he does find out, or we help him find out, he modifies the description with a link so that you can go back to that original face. And it makes sense. If you really like this face, like for example, that red one in the front, I've seen that on stock watches, but somebody has added this mask and then made blinking lights for eyeballs. There's been some changes. And so having a little history of where those changes came from is very helpful. This is cool. I actually had that watch when I was growing up. All right, I'm not a millennial. This was so cool. I mean, it was like, wow, a calculator built into a watch. And it really worked. You could touch the numbers and it would add and subtract and do all of that. The original Casio. Wow. And here it is. Here it is in this kind of a watch format. And it's non-functional. You can't use it. But I think in the next step, as this becomes more like the Android Wear type watches, you'll even be able to operate it like you could the original. There we go. Another Casio type of a watch. And again, an attribution would be to Casio, right? Probably Casio.com. Here we go with some interesting subdued rotating dials on their G-Shock. And we're showing a lot of stuff. There's weather. There's the fact that it's sunny out, the temperature. There's the power level. Look for those things when you're seeing them on the watch. And again, all of these designs are available on his KW88 Smartwatch Tips Google G Plus website, even though it's being shown to you on a KW98. All right, as we go through, I want to talk a little bit more about these watch faces, just because I can. I've got you as a captive audience unless you turn the volume down and put your music on, which is okay. There were originally, look at that, isn't that cool? 676 steps, May the 3rd. This is a Citizen watch. There were originally watch faces, here's the same thing, but some modifications, that were designed for the early smartwatches, like the D5, if you remember that from No.1, and the X1, X3, and X5 from FINOW. Those two companies, FINOW and No.1, created a clock engine that you could use to design these watch faces. And they ran with that for, 2014 into 2015, 2016 for sure, until it started to get into 2017-ish, when Kingwear, the people who make the KW88, shifted from the way they were handling watch faces, which was basically not at all, you couldn't put custom faces on it, to a method where you could put them on there, but you had to make a little separate application for it. And you had to load the application in the watch and run the application as if it were like a regular app you're putting in. Notice the little turning wheel up here? And, oh yeah, I got chickens here, so you'll hear them in the background. No, we're not in the middle of the big city. So that was a method that worked for quite a while in the interim, from nothing to something for Kingwear. And those watch faces got shifted one more time with a firmware update to this watch. And this is so cool. I love this one. And the introduction of the IQI i4, the LES1 from Lympho, in particular, the new Z-Blaze store. Those 16 gigabyte watches for sure have this modified engine in it that's the same as what was modified for the KW88. But it meant that a lot of those old watch faces that were in the application file style or even the ones that would run seamlessly on the #1 watches or FINOW watches. This is nice too. Look at that. That they would not run on here. They needed to be changed. And so part of what Alrod has done, and I've seen that happen here, and there's a couple of other websites that have kind of taken that on as well. We'll have links to all three that I know of major watch face suppliers on the web down below in the show notes. But one of them that's kind of sponsored somewhat by the watch company #1, and another one that's a big community contribution for round Android smartwatch faces, have worked with the original watch faces that ran on the original watches and modified them so that they will work on the Kingwear KW88. The thing I like about what Alrod has done, and part of why I'm parading all of his watches here, is that these watch faces are universal. He's set them up and worked with them so that they will run on any of these Android watches. You don't have to say, oh, that's a really nice face running on your KW88, but it won't run on my D5 Plus, for example. No, these have been tweaked to be universal, even though each of the watch companies, in a sense, has a different way of implementing watch faces to run on their own watches, at least in the grouping. The KW88s, the Kingwear, the IQIs, the Lymphos, the Hour Time, the Z-Blaze, all those watches work one way, and the FINOW and the #1 work a different way. Slightly different, but nonetheless majorly different enough that without tweaking them, they're not going to run at all. Look at that. Isn't that sweet? Very nice. A lot of detail there. So that's the first thing that I'm happy about in terms of what we're looking at today in this review of watch faces is I don't have to answer your silly question. I mean, your well thought out queries about whether or not these watch faces you saw today will run on your particular watch. That is, unless you ask me if it's going to run on a tethering watch. And my answer, easy, is no. These will only run on Android watches. There's a great Harley-Davidson watch. Now, when you get to a face like that, you just got to see it on, don't you? Man, yeah. Vroom, vroom. We're having fun. Okay. Some more. And then we go right from there into a smiley little watch. Come back here. There we go. All right, so what we're looking at are universal watch faces designs. Some of them have been created by other people than Alrod, and he has worked with porting them over and modifying the code in a way that lets them run, there we go, on these particular watches. And some of them are his own unique designs. And we're getting at about 10:15, and the right way to show a watch face is between like 10 o'clock and 10:15, so let's reset the time. Ta-da! There we go. That was easy. All right, let's continue. Oh, by the way, you saw a little green thing on the side here? That actually is a display brightness. It's an app I've put in so I can get the brightness just right to demo these watch faces for you. And we'll continue. Need it a little bit brighter than that? How about that? Okay. Here's a gold watch face. Now this is one of those where it's kind of a combination. I've seen that watch background before. The markings before. The font for the numbers before. The hands someplace else. There's an alligator or something I've never seen before, but this is how these watch face designs evolve. They come from a variety of sources. Lots of people piece them together in different ways, and then other ones work to make sure that they are functional on the different watches. It's a challenging area to try to keep on top of as to who created what, who has, if you want to call it copyright rights to it, the logos that are used in it, Levi's, for example. Really important to try to at least acknowledge the sources where these things came from. So if somebody gets upset about it, there's not a whole lot of legal mumbo jumbo, and we all get to enjoy the watch faces. So kudos to those of you helping us keep this stuff upfront and honest by finding the developers of these watch faces and make sure that we're all giving credit where credit is due. Enough said about that. Let's keep going. Here's some more interesting design. I try to make these videos when the chickens are asleep, and they're sleeping less and less these days because it's getting near summertime. So I've just given up. You get the background clucking and squawking every now and then of chickens having fun. Here we go, another interesting one. You can see where the digital display can sometimes be interfered with the analog, but at the same time, you can figure it out usually with the time. These split type hands are helpful when you have digital, and it's something to think about in watch design. If you're going to have multiple display digital things on there, to have hands you can see through. Now look carefully at this one. Get it in focus. That is attention to detail. Look at that background of the Nixie tubes. And they really work that way. I played with these when I was really, really teeny, playing with electronics. And you plug the tube in and it would have that little discharge glow going off in the background. So photorealistic work here. Very nice job. And it's got all the information you basically need. An Omega watch. And here's another one. And here's deep blue. I think it's coming through pretty good, but the background is like really nice and deep blue. So it's beginning of May 2017, and I'll just do a little bit of watch update for you. We are all waiting on pins and needles for this watch to come out. It's been almost maybe a year, definitely over 6 months since it's kind of been announced. We got this demo unit in a long time ago, and there's a full review on this. I'll have a link down below also. You can go over and check the review on the Kingwear KW98. It was supposed to be released to the public by the end of April. And like I say, as you can tell from the watch, it's early May, and there's been no word on it yet, which is why it's the perfect watch to show this off on, because you guys are all oogling over it. Nobody has one yet. You can just kind of imagine it. But it will be coming. Now, here's an interesting one. This is one I had a hand in. In fact, quite a bit of a hand, but it's totally different than my basic design. The sweep thing came from a stock watch. The background image came from somebody else who made an interesting flow. There's a little dot you see going around here that's something that I put in that ended up collapsing into a little spinning hole over here on the side, which is gone. But now digital stuff is on here as well, and a twirling second hand. So I don't know how many fingers have touched this watch face design, but a whole bunch of them. And when it gets so convoluted like that, it's pretty much impossible to give proper credits. But we do the best we can. Here you go. This is really, really fun. Flat background on that one. Whoa, there goes my color balance there. Rainbow display twirling around. Nice big digits, digital display. Really awesome work. Nice, very colorful. You got to touch them just right, don't you? Okay, we're into a bright blue Rolex design. And Rolls-Royce, yeah. So it's common to work with logos of companies, either a watch company, a car company, a motorcycle company, pants, shirts, I don't know, everything. And you just see it pop up on the watches. So far, there hasn't been a lot of difficulty with that in a big scale, because most of these things are just popping up and disappearing on the internet. And, nobody's asking big money for these, which is another thing. They're not a huge money maker. Most everybody works off of donation or just out of the goodness of their heart for free. So you'll see some really nice designs that incorporate different companies' logos. And they pop up everywhere. There's a rotating gear again. You notice that on these designs, we're not seeing a whole lot of the little windows. Oh, here's the one that's supposed to emulate the skin. We did a great video on that in one of the early watch designs, and this is a little bit different flesh tone than mine, so I can't even fake it with this one. But it looked pretty realistic on mine. And that was a totally different designer who put that one together. And this one is a modification or a complete rewrite of that. The concept, of course, is universal, so different people try these things out in different ways. The most successful club in history. All right. Nice sheen on the red on the background for this watch. The little wheels, that's what I'm talking about. These wheels here really has been hard with the change in the watch face clock engine to get the hands and the positioning to work well, because there was a disconnect between the two different kinds of watches and how those wheels and hands were implemented. So kind of big learning curve on that. If you go through and look at the tutorial that I've got here on this channel on how to create your own watch faces, that tutorial is for the FINOW No.1 style of watch. If you design that way and then modify it to work with this style of watch, the KW88 class we call them, you may find that the positioning and the wheels need tweaking. And honestly, I've been out of the doing that myself for too long to know what those differences are. So for that, you got to drop into the deeper into the developers' forums where they talk about how you have to adjust things to make them work. That's a common watch we're seeing everywhere. I think this was one of the very first ones. Notice the drop shadow on the second hand. Little attention to detail like that really makes it nice. This has become a stock watch face, if I recall correctly, on several of the watches. This one we featured in a different video a while back. I think it was the IQI i4 and the LES1 comparison video. And I'm lingering for a minute so that we can wait for that second hand to get around, because it does a really interesting sweeping function, changing the color of the background. It's become one of my favorites, the Tesla watch face. And Alrod is offering this one as part of his free grouping. I would have thought this would end up in the paid pack, but it's not. So you can just go to his website and download this. Look at that. And it actually, just because you can't see it as well on the video, but when you look at it in real life on this, it actually looks like there's a height change. The green is higher than the red, and it's like it's wiping out this whole top layer. It's really something. You got to see this watch face, the Tesla one. And wow, creativity just amazes me what people are coming up with. And Alrod's doing some great work with this. All right, another one. Hey, it's 10:10. That's the classic time we're supposed to show all of our watch faces at, because it kind of puts them in a good position to see everything else. There's some more. We're at 69% on battery, the date, zenith. And that's the last one. All right. So that's 77 of Alrod's current designs up to date for the beginning of May 2017. And I'm going to change watches, load up the actual, what does he call them? The premium face pack, and put that on, and we'll take a look at his premium designs. Okay, now we're going to switch gears a little bit. We're going to talk about monetizing. Remember, Alrod has created a pack of 30-plus premium faces, which he's offering by donation, but a donation is required in order to get the link. With the link, you can download all of those watch faces. So I'm going to show you those watch faces, and I'm going to show you on a brand new albino watch. It's the IQI i4 in pure white. And it comes to us from GearBest. We're talking about monetization. I think you guys have figured out by now that I promote the source where I get the watches with a link down below for buying the watch if you're interested. And that helps them out selling watches. It helps me get new watches like this one to show you and to demo things like these watch faces. So everybody's got a little piece of interest in making a little bit of money out of all this, or product in this case. So first of all, let me show you the watch. We've already done the review on the i4, so this is a quasi-unboxing to take a look at the new watch and how it's packaged. But for the overall review of the i4, you can head on over. I'll have a link down below for the i4 review, and you can take a look at it there. Okay, for what we're doing now, though, I'm just showing you how it comes in the box. Brand new production unit. It's already on. It's already loaded. It's got a plastic protector I'm going to take off. It's got, no doubt, the charging information or dock and whatnot in here. Yep, there's the cable for charging. And it looks like a screwdriver as well for changing the screws in the back if you put a SIM card in. That's enough of the unboxing. What we're here for is to look at Alrod's grouping of 30 plus watch faces, right? So let's get to that. I'm going to turn this on. And that's the first stock face. So I'm going to press it. The first ones we're going to go through are the ones that come installed on the watch. And as we parade through these, I want to mention that this area now of monetization for watch faces is a little bit tricky. There's obviously no issue if you designed a watch face yourself, if you created it, if you put it all together and you made it work so that it'll work on this watch or any of the others, and you host it up on your site and you ask for a donation or charge a couple of bucks for it, that's fine. The challenge comes in if you modify other watch faces that were created by others and tweak them somehow by adding some other features to them or adding some capabilities to them, like allowing them to run on these particular watches, and then add them in a monetized way so that you make a little bit of money off of them. I'm not going to get really into the nuances of all that, except to let you know it's being debated on the internet as to what's ethical and what's not. And I'm just going to show them to you. Up to you. These are the faces. I don't know which ones were created by who, and they are in the overall KW98 smartwatch tips G Plus community, so you can go there and take a look at them, and they'll say that they're part of the premium package. What I do want to say is developers of watch faces deserve compensation. They really do, and it's a good idea, you know, almost like tipping a pianist at a bar or something. If you like the music and it enhanced your experience, a couple of bucks in the kitty, that's remuneration, you know, giving 20% tip instead of 15, that's a little extra for good service. We all see ways that money can flow in the economy to help support the different people who play a role in that. These watch faces are no exception. If you find these of interest, a donation might be something you'd like to consider. These you're not going to get unless you make a donation. That's the difference, and that's kind of an ethical thing that I leave it to those that are more deeply entrenched in all that to hash out on the internet itself. What I'm showing you, though, are these premium faces that Alrod has in his premium pack. And yes, I did make a contribution and paid for these, so here you go. Another thing I want to point out on the watch platform as we go through this, in this particular silver albino white one, notice how the watch face looks really small with this huge black bezel around the edge of it. That I didn't notice on the black IQI i4. Here's a black watch face, and see, it seems to fill it more, or at least that's what it looks like to me. The other one that we just looked at seemed kind of small and crunched on here. Personal opinion, But again, it's something to consider when you're looking at the different watch platforms these days as to how far does that 400 by 400 pixel watch face extend out towards the edge. A few of the watches, like the Lympho Y3, I believe it is, model, has it designed in a way that the watch face edge comes right to the edge of the bezel, and it looks like a full screen. This one looks like a larger watch because the display space for the actual watch face itself and everything else that you get into your apps and everything is smaller. Okay, I'm rambling on a lot of different topics here. We've got everything from the look and feel of watch faces on the designed watches and how they're different depending on how the companies decide to implement their screen, all the way to what's the proper thing to do in picking up these watch faces. Most of the ones we already saw on the previous Kingwear watch, all of those are free. You don't need to contribute at all. You can go over, and unfortunately, most people do, and they just take them. And Alrod's, I guess, okay with that because he's making them available for free. Over in the G Plus community, the Pro boards, and the No.1 supported WatchAware, I believe it is, website, all of those are free too. So there's a lot of free watch faces out there. Just this little collection is kind of hidden from view. And there's a few also on the G Plus community where the developers themselves ask for a donation. And once you donate, they'll email you the link to download the watch face. So they're kind of charging for it too that way. The Android Wear watch faces, now they've got a system because they're available only through like the Google Play Store. That's a cool one. Look at that. So to get those watch faces, you got to go to the Google Play Store and purchase them for like 99 cents, $1.99, $2.99, somewhere in that ballpark. And the good news there, when it's done that way, is the creators get like at least 60% of the money. So $1 gives them 60 cents. Unfortunately, when you're doing it this way through PayPal, if you only donate $1, about 60 or 70 cents of that, maybe even the whole dollar, gets eaten up in fees. And so the developer gets nothing, and you end up paying the big banks tiny pennies, but they all add up. This is an interesting one. Look at that. Now, the complete design for this, I've seen this before, and this one runs on the FINOW and No.1 watches. It was modified to work on the these watches, the KW98, and of course right here, the IQI i4. But Al didn't design this, but he worked with the face and has implemented it here. And it's appearing now in the premium pack that Al's getting paid for. So interesting dynamics going on. I hope there's some relationships being built behind the scenes between all these different developers so that they're all taking care of each other. There's another interesting, looks like Legos, doesn't it? Okay. Now this one we got an active background screen, and all the coding for doing this is available. We've got online classes as well. So if you're interested in learning how to create these watch faces, there's some tutorials you'll find on this channel and all sorts of other places that teach you how to work with the software behind and hand code them. And there's also some computer programs out there now that you can work with to create these just by dragging elements around, and you can make these watch faces. They may need to be modified though to work on the KW88 class of watches. I'm not sure if the programs have been updated to cover that. But again, all these watch faces not only work on the IQI and the Kingwear type, but they also will work on the FINOW and the No.1 watches as well. And there's more than just the 30 in here, as you can see already. I haven't counted them, but you guys probably can, because there's duplicates of some of them too. Here's a nice one. Look at all of the gears going around in that one. Some of these you got to kind of leave on the screen for a little while so you get the feel of what they look like, what they do. I'm just jumping into at the current time. I didn't actually set it for 10:10. Sorry about that, but you got the feel from the other ones. But you see now when it lines up like that, it looks like one straight hand and doesn't feel quite like what it would look like that way, right? So for those of you developing these watch faces, make sure when you take your little thumbnail that you set it for 1010 before you actually shoot that picture. Okay, an Omega. And here we are with a, wow, did you see the thumbnail was blue, but the actual watch itself now is yellow. Interesting. That's an Oris, it says. We're going alphabetically through these, so we'll just keep going till we get to the end of them. This is an interesting and very bright one. The camera doesn't seem to be picking up the brilliance. Maybe if I tilt it a little bit. That's neat. You can kind of see the effect of the AMOLED screen. Look at that. When it's straight on, it's bright light blue, but that's actually what it looks like. Whoa, going off on me. Keep moving, it says. Okay, here's another one. And we've got lots of fine detail on these reaching out to the outer edge. Look at the ring running around the outside. And look at the black bezel that you've got, kind of a glass bezel running all the way out. And that's how it's going to look on your arm. That's what the watch face will look like within the watch itself. And some people like that effect, and some people rather have it all the way to the edge. It's just a matter of personal choice. So up to you which one and which style you like. But that's the variety that we have on the market. Right now we have these watches from IQI, as he says here. Lympho has a bunch of them out there. Our Time has got some. And the new Z-Blaze Thor, folks, I am going to review that watch. It's next on the list. It was supposed to be in. It now appears to be lost in the mail. So I was going to shoot these watch faces on the Thor. That was the whole intent. But since it isn't here and there's no tracing of it, I'm pretty much having to start over from scratch. So we'll be doing the Thor eventually, but not today. Here's an interesting one too. Look at this. I mean, a lot of these are very innovative and creative designs. Now we get into the digital line of watches. Sort of like a Casio, but a different overall feel to it. And this one here. Email, it says, message. Looks like it's all set for having buttons that would check all those things on a different kind of a watch that would have those buttons. Another one here. Now here's that, oh good, we got the sweep. Here's that similar sweep one that we saw over in the free version, but this one is now part of the premium pack, and it's showing that sweeping color change Tesla watch effect at a different level. And there's a lot of, like, there's drop shadows here, that things that make this look like it's really in 3D. Pretty nice. And another one, with the smiling mask at the top. And this one, I remember now, is the last one in the grouping because it's got that little simulated keyboard. Imagine trying to pick out a message on that keyboard. The ones that come with the watch are already too small. That's even smaller. But that's the premium face pack. And I got to tell you, another and different thing that Alrod is doing with this, with the donation that he asks for to pick up that premium pack, you're also basically automatically subscribed in an automatic new premium face program. I don't know if he talks about it anywhere here, but he also continues to pump out these. So he's got it set up that you get the 30 plus premium faces, and that may even go up over time as he updates this. But for your donation, he's asking €5, basically $6, let's say, US. To get started, you get a zip file with all of those in it, and he puts out new ones over time. Now, this was about a week ago when I downloaded this. The paper's not dated. I think about a week ago, maybe a week and a half. And since then, he's already sent out a bunch of new watch faces that are only going to, quote, subscribers, and in a sense you subscribe when you buy the premium pack. And I'm going to show you on the KW88, the original, what those look like, because they didn't make this watch. I haven't gone back and re-added them here. I'm going to show them to you new. And when you sign up and get these, you're, just like me, going to be receiving a watch face every week or two, maybe 2 or 3, depends on when he does them. And they're yours to keep as well. So let's take a look at that. Here we are, the original KW88. This is what got it all started. And that's one of the newer stock faces that's been added with the latest firmware update. And now we come over to the custom faces. So these are the newest ones added that are not in this pack directly, unless he's raised it from 30 to, I don't know, 35 or 40, whatever. Then they may be in that pack. But nonetheless, they come to you automatically by email, because when you pay for these through PayPal, you get the email link, and he just sends them out to you. And as a matter of fact, I got 2 more today that are not even on this watch, so you're not even going to see those. I had to cut it somewhere, and they just keep coming. So here's another take on the Tesla-type watch that's a Jeep, and that's pretty cool. Again, the sweep second hand does a color change in selected little places in here. Yeah, even right in there and right over there. I like that one too. That's going to be a keeper. So many watch faces. Here's another one. Very, very slow turning gears, but they're there. It is Friday. I walked 5 steps with this one. And here's a interesting, very dark one. That actually, I think, looks good with the bezel on the KW88 being so bold and defined that the little white markings against the background make this an interesting watch face just to have on, yeah? Because everybody's got their likes and not so likes, their preferences, so your choices are up to you. Here's another one now. Very clean look. Good contrast for outdoors. You always want to look for something that's got good contrast between the hands and the background. That one you're going to have a hard time reading outdoors. And if you're seeing some lines moving on the screen, that's just because the frequency between the refresh of the camera and the watch, it's not actually showing up that way on the watch. I have to mention that periodically because it does happen on some of these, and it's not, there's nothing wrong with your television set. Do not attempt to adjust. Okay. Here's another one. A lot of fine detail information around the edges. Again, oh, wow, that one, yeah, okay. Similar to that, it looked like it was going to be turned to yellow, but it didn't actually. Hey, Alrod, hope you're watching this. This one's got a little bug in it. And then there's pure yellow. All right, so same basic watch concept. He's just playing with the colors. And now here's another one. Wow, I am just nailing it this time. This is great. Sometimes the second hand's like way off, and I've got to talk forever to get it to come over. And there it goes sweeping through. You've got to see these in 3D. I mean, on the watch itself. It's just, I don't think YouTube is going to do it justice. It's really something. And again, these are all, as far as I understand, new premium ones. In other words, if you just wanted that one or just wanted this one, he would request a donation from you. You pay the donation and you get that watch face, and you also automatically get subscribed into the whole program. I think we're repeating ourselves now because we're back to the Jeep one. And as many of you know, for some reason, when you put these in, they just keep coming in here 2 or 3 times. See all that? They repeat and repeat and repeat. It's a little glitch in the clock engine that they haven't fixed yet. So we don't have nearly that many. We have them in there 3 or 4 times. But we do have them, and that's pretty cool. So we've got your subscription watch faces. We've got your premium watch faces. And then we've got the basic free watch faces that we showed you at the beginning. All these, again, are available on a G Plus community website if you call it a website, it's a G Plus community page for the, just Google it, KW88 smartwatch tips, or check the link down below. You get in there, you'll see a directory of all the different watch faces available, and download the ones you've seen, whatever you like, and you can consider picking up the premium pack and get all these that you've been seeing on these watches. Alrighty, thanks for watching Smartwatch Ticks. We are screaming ahead with stuff, aren't we? We will be back, I'm sure, with the Z-Blaze Thor as soon as I can get one in, and a lot more good things. I'm still going to talk about blood pressure for those of you whose blood pressure is boiling, because I haven't talked about it yet. Working on that right now. It's not easy. All right, but we will be back. We'll see you soon. Thanks for watching.